In August of 2004, Merrian Carver, a 40-year-old woman, disappeared from a Royal Caribbean cruise. Her steward reported her missing for 5 days. No one looked for her or even reported her missing. Many people believe she took her own life. Others think she met with foul play. But before we get started with today's case, hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is Crime Time with Connie, and I am obviously Connie. If you are new here, I sit down every week and I talk about a true crime case. If that is interesting, please be sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my videos. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone that wished me a happy birthday last week. And I've been getting a lot of love from Australia, and that is super cool. Yeah, let me know where you guys are from. I think that's awesome that people are watching from Australia. And if you hear any cats meow, my foster cat had a kittens. She had 3 little kittens. They're in my office and they're so cute. All right, so let's get started with today's case. Merrian Lynn Carver was born on April 3rd, 1964 to parents Kendall and Carol. Merrian was the oldest of 4 girls. And Merrian was described as vivacious, super independent. She loved her privacy, and she really enjoyed writing poetry. She would attend Simmons College in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and she just fell in love with this area. She decided to stay after she graduated from college. Her family would moved to Arizona and she stayed back in Massachusetts. She would meet her future husband. They would have a daughter together. Unfortunately, their marriage did not last and they would end up getting a divorce. And this divorce was very bitter and nasty. I know there was some kind of disagreement about custody issues. Some sources say daughter moved all the way in England with her father, but I also read she would just stay in England during the summers. But whatever the custody agreement was, Merrian was heartbroken and devastated. She did not take the divorce well. During this time, and this was around the year 2000, Merrian would talk about taking her own life, but not in a serious way, just in a way that she was just done with everything. She would go away for about a month, but when she came back, her family said she was back to normal and she was back to her happy self and she enjoyed the things she loved in life again. She did have work experience as an investment banker, but later on she would become unemployed and she would be living off of her trust fund and some investments she had made. Merrian would take trips all the time by herself. She loved to travel and it was not unusual for her to do so. Now in August of 2004, her daughter was over the pond staying with her father in England. Merrian would talk to her daughter every single day. This day, she did not talk to her daughter and she did not communicate with her family or her daughter, saying that she was leaving for a cruise. Now on August 27th, 2004, Merrian would board the celebrity cruise ship called Mercury for a 7-day Alaskan experience. She bought her tickets just 2 days prior. She flew from Boston, Massachusetts, all the way to Seattle, Washington. This cruise would take several stops in Alaska and Canada before disembarking in Vancouver, which, if you did not know, is in Canada. Mercury, the cruise ship she boarded, was a celebrity cruise ship owned and operated by parent company Royal Caribbean. She would stay in stateroom number 8137, which this would entail having a sealed window and no balcony. This room was not an ocean view room. She did buy her ticket very late, just 2 days prior, so many rooms were probably not available with a nice view. When she boarded the ship, she was issued something called a C Pass, like a debit card, credit card, that you would scan if you were to purchase something. I have never been on a cruise before, and I don't intend to, but just to make sure I'm giving you guys the right information, the Sea Pass is a card used by cruises for onboard purchases and services. It functions as a room key and can be used to open the cabin door and as a charged card at bars, restaurants, and other venues. So this card is given to you and it has your name, it has your information on it, and this is designed for you. That's what I am gathering. But her steward, which is a male stewardess, said that he was shocked to see Merrian when she answered the door because he was expecting a family, a couple with just a little baby. Now, Merrian is a single woman in her 40s. She did not have a baby with her. He was a little bit confused. This seems to happen a lot on cruises or hotels, but again, room changes are not unusual. He would later go on to say that her mood was okay. She was fine. She was very polite. She was wearing a blue dress with a white blouse. And Merrian is a beautiful, attractive woman. She has big red hair, a big smile. She was just gorgeous. She was about 5'7", 100 pounds, and she did have a scar on both legs. She told him that she did have plans to go upstairs for the evening, but she did not plan on going to dinner. Something that struck him as odd is Merrian's lack of luggage. She only had 2 handbags with her. I personally don't find this odd. I am a very light packer, but Merrian was going to be gone for a week, maybe more. Who knows what her whole travel adventure, how long that would take. But the cruise had plenty of shops she could go to buy new things. The next morning, Merrian is seen again by the same steward and his assistant. She would welcome the workers in. Her steward said that she was just wearing the white blouse with her underwear on. The workers would come in to fix up her room for the morning, make the bed, make sure she has some fresh towels, and to see if she needs anything else. They tidy up the room and they leave. They would return to Merrian's room around 7:45 in the evening for turndowns. And that's a term I'm familiar with because of Below Deck. Usually in the show they do it when the person is out of the room. You know, fix the bed, leave a little chocolate, give you the towels. But Merrian was present for the whole fixing up the room. He asked her if she wanted a menu, and she declined. The only thing she asked for was 2 sandwiches. He would leave and shortly return with what she asked, and he delivered the 2 sandwiches, each on their own plate on a tray. That was the last time Merrian was ever seen again. The next morning, the same steward showed up to Merrian's room around 10:30 a.m. He knocked on the door several times and there was no answer. He finally let himself in because they are allowed to do so. When he let himself into the cabin, he discovered no one was inside. Merrian was gone, and this was not unusual because she could have been out exploring the cruise, maybe enjoying some shopping or getting something to eat. But the bed seemed to be not slept in. And something else that was odd, the tray had been missing from the previous night when he delivered the sandwiches. Now, she could have left the tray outside of her room and someone could have picked it up, but usually he would come back and get the tray himself. And he discovered an envelope with his name on it with $107 inside. He did not take the envelope. He would report that Merrian was not in her room to his supervisor. Now again, this is the first time that she's not in her room. It's not uncommon. She could have been doing something else. It's also not uncommon may have not slept in her bed the first night. She could have met someone and stayed in someone else's room. However, Merrian never came back to her room or even used her sea pass. The steward would return to her room every single day doing turn downs, and I don't know what the morning's called. I don't know if those are called turn ups, but he would make her bed, bring her fresh towels, and even leave a chocolate on her pillow every night with different wrapper each time, and it was untouched. In her closet was the only dress she seemed to have brought, which was the blue dress she was wearing the first day she arrived. The only shoes she seemed to have brought were some sandals, and that was also in her cabin. Again, he reported her missing every single day to his supervisor, and his supervisor seemed to care less, and that he told the steward to just do your job, forget about it. When the ship docked, the steward was asked by his supervisor to bring all of Merrian's belongings to him, and he complied. And when he brought all these items to his supervisor, you want to know what the supervisor did? He took all of her belongings and put it into his locker. And he donated her clothes to Goodwill. Now, all of the items that was put into his locker was her clothes that would later be donated, pair of shoes, the envelope with the steward's name on it filled with the money, her 2 handbags, and a manila envelope that we still to this day do not know what was inside of it. Her passport, her billfold, and her jewelry have never been recovered. No file or report was made. The Royal Caribbean Cruise Line made no attempts to even contact authorities about Merrian's disappearance, or even contact her family. Kendall, Merrian's father, would receive a phone call from his granddaughter, which is Merrian's daughter, and she was very concerned. She had not heard from her mother for a couple of weeks. She wanted to know if he had heard from her mom, and Kendall had not heard from Merrian in a while also. This caused Kendall to have a wellness check done on Merrian. When the Cambridge police went to Merrian's place of living, they discovered no Merrian. Merrian's family would then file a missing persons report. And they did this in Massachusetts because that's where Merrian lived. The Cambridge Police Department looked into Merrian's spendings to see if any of her financial purchases gave any clues as to where she is. And luckily, it did. They found her flight tickets to Seattle, Washington, and the cruise ship ticket purchases. Looking into her financial record actually delayed the search for her for almost a month. And her family was shocked. They did not know she was even going on a cruise. She didn't even let them know she was leaving, and she didn't even tell her daughter. Once the cruise line was contacted, it took them 3 days to even confirm she was there. And this was 26 days after her disappearance. If you're thinking, well, Connie, maybe they kept a record of all the people who left the ship when it docked. But nowadays, when ships dock, there is a record of everybody who left the ship. But not in this case. No, they didn't have any record of anybody's names leaving the ship when it docked. So there would be no record telling anybody if she got off the ship with anybody or by herself. Her family would hire a private investigator, and they would also work with a Boston law firm to start a major investigation, since they were getting really no answers or help from the cruise line. And it took the cruise line 5 weeks to even report her missing to the FBI. Finally, on November 4th, an investigator was sent onto the ship to speak with the workers to see Merrian's room. Unfortunately, he was advised that he could not speak to anyone. They would not provide the name of the steward that was assigned to Merrian's room. They also indicated that the security footage was erased every 2 to 3 weeks and that there was no review of anything concerning Merrian. Since no progress was being made into the investigation of Merrian's disappearance and a lack of cooperation from the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line staff, and maybe, just maybe, it seemed like they were hiding more information. This would cause her family to take some kind of legal action to get these people talking. Since they're not going to talk to them, they're going to go through the courts to find some answers. You guys are going to giggle when I try to say this word. Subpoenas were made. I'm embarrassed for myself. They were first issued on December 2nd, 2004. And this was for information concerning Merrian's disappearance. The steward that was the last known person to have seen Merrian would be disposed, and the head of the hotel for the cruise line. These depositions would take place in January of 2005. During the depositions, that's when the family learned that the steward reported her missing for several days and that her clothes were donated. They also learned that the supervisor was fired for his wrongdoings. They stated that the supervisor should have reported that Merrian was not in her room for several days in a row to the ship officers and the captain. Another subpoena was ordered for additional information, and this was the security report consisting of a poor quality photo of Merrian getting on the ship and a list of everybody on the cruise. You would think this was going to be helpful, but this was just a list of names. Over 2,000 names. They were not given any phone numbers to these people or even addresses. So John Smith could be any John Smith in the world. And this list could have been any list of names. It didn't even verify if it was the same list of people that were on the cruise ship for that week. Also, the videos were on a 30-day cycle. That means there should have been security footage of Merrian and that they were not truthful. They said that the cycle was 2 to 3 weeks. Not 30 days. So if they reviewed it on the 26th day of her disappearance, they had 4 extra days until the videos would be lapped over with new additional footage, and that the old footage would be erased. Someone from Royal Caribbean's team spoke to reporters saying that they believed Merrian took her own life and that she had severe emotional problems. It was no secret that Merrian struggled with her divorce 4 years prior and that she did go away for about a month. But she did clear her head. She came back and they said she was stronger than ever and she was okay for the 4 years consistently. Kendall, her father, did recognize the possibility that she could have taken her own life. Someone would come forward to the family saying that they worked on the cruise. They had strong suspicions that Merrian was involved with a crew member. And that's the only detail that was given. They didn't give a who, what, when, where, and why. In 2006, Kendall, Merrian's father, founded International Cruise Victims Group, which is a non-profit. Kendall's goals was to create transparency in crime and missing passenger reporting and to install man overboard system and implement rape protocol and evidence handling procedures on cruise ships. Merrian's father made it his mission in his life to help find his daughter and to help other families not experience what has happened to his family. He was successful in having the Cruise Vessel Safety and Security Act passed into law. Kendall would be the chairman of the International Cruise Victims Associations, and he received the Ronald Wilson Reagan Public Policy Award from the U.S. Department of Justice. Kendall would sadly pass away in 2018, not knowing whatever happened to his daughter. But he put up a hell of a fight to have laws put into place to help other families not endure what he and his family has to go through. I think it's pretty honorable what he did for future cruise ship passengers. That way they are safe and protected by the law. Between 2003 and 2005, 24 cruise passengers disappeared. Now we are going to discuss possible theories as to what has happened to Merrian. The obvious one is that Merrian took her own life and that this was planned out. Merrian did go through a nasty divorce. She went away for a month, but her family said that she was okay. Was it possible that Merrian took her own life? It is. She would have to have jumped overboard at some point. The fall would have been about 100 feet, and this would not have guaranteed death. The last thing Merrian was wearing was underwear and her blouse. It was unlikely that no one saw her walking on deck half naked going overboard. Someone could have thought she was wearing a bikini underneath a white blouse, but the last time she was seen was 7:45 at night, and everybody's walking around, they're going to dinner, they're going out to the clubs in the cruise during this time. It seems like everybody's up during the night on a cruise. It is possible that she could have snuck away and went overboard, but it's highly unlikely that someone did not see her at all. No one has come forward saying that they saw her. The only person to have seen her was her steward. And Merrian was 5'7", and she had big red hair. And she was by herself. And that leads me to the second theory. She was by herself, and she was a woman. And someone could have taken advantage of her, whether that was premeditated or not. And what I mean by that is that Merrian could have been meeting up with someone. I hope they looked into her computer to see if she was chatting with someone online. Maybe she met someone and they had her come onto this cruise to meet for the first time. And maybe that's why she had a lack of luggage. Maybe they promised her to buy all these new things, new clothes, or it was some rando on a cruise ship that took an opportunity to take advantage of a single woman. The shady characters in Merrian's case would definitely be the supervisor. Everyone finds it very odd that he would not report her missing and that he would take her belongings. He would have the opportunity and means to hurt Merrian and conceal it. Now, if you're wondering, do we know who the steward is and the supervisor? Yes and no. We do have the name of the steward provided by the depositions, but the supervisor's name has never been given. We don't know who he is. All we know is that he is a man from Greece. That was the only information that has ever been given. I don't want to give out the steward's information. I do have it, like his name. I don't think he hurt Merrian, only because he was the only one on that ship that was trying to find her. He reported her missing every day. Merrian could have left the ship and started a new life. Her passport has never been found. Why would she just leave her daughter? And if she was missing her family and tried to contact them or see what they were up to, she would see that her father and her family was desperately trying to find answers, that they went as far as passing new laws to help other families not go through what they were enduring. I think it's highly likely that she did meet someone was 2004. The internet was questionable and blooming. A lot of AOL chats. I think she possibly was meeting up for someone on a spur of the moment adventure. The lack of luggage could also indicate that she was going to take her own life. Hello, everyone. I am from the future. I just wanted to hop on here because I editing and something went wrong. But I am here to tell you guys that Merrian's father said that her ordering 2 sandwiches was very odd because she didn't like sandwiches. So that means that had someone with her that really likes sandwiches. And it's confusing as to why she ordered them in the first place. Now, as for any updates in Merrian's case, the last known thing that I found was just one link article, barely an article. It's a blog post, and it says Canadian authorities discover remains of suspected cruise ship disappearance victim. This was from 2013, and no updates have been made since, so I highly doubt this was her bones being found. And I found one other article that I have a lot of questions to because it didn't help give me answers. And this was the only source that said this. Royal Caribbean International has said that the video camera captured her fall from a ship's deck, but told her father that the footage had been erased. This is the only source that said that, yeah, we saw her fall and we have footage of it, but it's been erased. But I thought I should mention that. Between 2003 and 2005, 24 people had disappeared from a cruise line. That number is obviously higher since. But I really wanted to talk about Merrian's case because it's not highly covered. The only way I think it could be solved is if someone were to come forward with any information. In Merrian's honor, her family had a statue made of a woman reading poetry with a butterfly. This case truly shows that parents will stop at nothing to seek justice for their children. But that is going to be it for me today. What do you think happened to Merrian? Truly devastating and sad. I hope one day her daughter and her family finds answers as to what has happened to her. I hope to see you guys soon. As always, please, please, please be safe and stay golden.